Yo! We're here. Toronto Defiant Roundtable. Episode.
We never did episode numbers, so I don't know. I don't know. 7?
Episode mid-season. After mid-season, season 6. There it is. So
Yeah.
I'm joined by Frags. This is a long-standing Tomat YouTube channel tradition that a lot of you may not be familiar with, but it is here. So, first off, Frags, where the fuck did it go wrong? What happened?
Where did we go wrong as a franchise?
Yeah.
We can go back to the inception of this franchise if we want. It's a long history of going wrong in Toronto. But if we're talking about this year,
Yeah.
well, the boys just couldn't get it together. They couldn't reignite and like have that synergy they may have used to have. And I think it cost them. I mean, you saw in the Defiant video that they put out, like their source code video, you know, a lot of them put a lot of pressure on themselves to perform. And like, this is it. This is our big chance to get back together. We're going to be so good. And then when they weren't out the gate, or when there was some underperforming, it just went downhill. Like they seemed to be getting really upset with themselves. Like I remember Kaluj like yelling at the screen in that video they showed. But it's like, you know, the boys couldn't put it together, and then their mental kind of crumbled, and they weren't performing on match day. Like they said, they were performing well in scrims. We won't know that, but on match day they just couldn't put it together.
Yeah, they couldn't handle the pressure, perhaps, of supposing to be like a very good team.
Yeah,
and they were probably a good team, but it just like, if you're a good team, you're supposed to be a very good team. You just kind of suck. Is the problem. So from there, I guess it's like that was a shit meta for them as well, to be honest. Because you have Kaluj on the Winston, you're forcing Speedly on Tracer for so much. He was the most played damage player on a character that he is not comfortable on whatsoever.
No, and it even looked like the other two damage players were potentially better options for that character anyways.
Yeah. So it's like, what are it's a bad meta. We're not playing to our strengths in the meta. We're trying to force like compositions that isn't good. And then I don't even know what happened with OG. The science cannot explain why OG was so bad.
To quote a famous owl YouTuber, he was the spawn room interior designer. But for real, there was clearly like a disconnect there. I mean, you heard OG, like from OG's word in the source code video, he's like, yo, I felt like I needed to kind of like go for plays and like put a lot into match day, and it sounded like he wanted to like take risks on match day and stuff like that. But the system just wasn't working, especially with the backline. It was very clear that there was a disconnect there, and that was leading to OG dying a lot. Maybe it wasn't 100% his fault, right?
Maybe.
But the coaching staff, I guess, thought that it was significant enough, like his fault, to remove him from the team. But yeah, the backline, there were problems. You mentioned like the DPS rotation was just so weird. I mean,
So
Speedily was
bad.
underperforming, and it seemed like they put all their eggs in that basket, and they weren't willing to change despite results looking better. Generally, from eye test from us, it looked a bit better when Sam and Hydron were in. Towards the end, it looked like there was a bit more, you know, just magic there, right? Like Sam was smiling and having a great time. There, we get back to a Defiant Roundtable tradition. We need smilers on this team, and we'll talk about that later with the new pickups. But Sam really kind of brought an energy, it looked like, to the team, and was also performing really well. So I don't know. Like, and then Kaluj, Kaluj was to round it out. I guess Kaluj, his Winston at times was not looking how it was last year. Like last year, it wasn't that bad. It was actually like fairly good last year. It was very serviceable. And so you start to wonder, it's like, okay, was it because like Proper was on that team? Because it was like Violet, Finn, like all these great players were on that team. And then I don't think that's necessarily the case. I think there was, like I said, there was just a disconnect. They were boomed. They just seemed to be boomed.
And his Winston is good. Like was good this past weekend in this match.
Yeah, this past week, which shows that it's like it was just I guess a mental issue, or like across the entire team there was just a widespread boomage across the AT roster. I don't know.
Yeah, it wasn't like these players could have had a better result. It's not like this was what they were, right? They could have been. They all have played better in OWL even.
Yeah.
Last season. So it's like, it's just sad. And it's like the DPS rotation, because it's just like it's so sad to see Sam get subbed in, win his maps, pop off on Hanzo on the little bit of Sombra he played, and then he subbed out and suddenly we're shit again. And it's like, for what reason are we doing this 6 weeks into the year, right? You know how to win. And committing to speedily on the Tracer literally makes no sense. If it doesn't work, they just let him go. And I don't know if that was the plan for the management, because it's like at the beginning it was like, oh, upper management wanted the team to win now, but now it's kind of like with the source code video, that wasn't the vibe they were trying to give out in source code at all.
Well, I don't think the players necessarily knew that was the vibe. I think they thought that this was more long term, that they had time to iron things out. And I think towards the end of the stage, it was getting to it, like that. Those kind of rumors were kind of going around within the org. Maybe, I don't know. I mean, this is speculation completely, right? But at least from what we can see, that seems like it could have been the case.
I mean, they did say it was like, we're going to build upon the American Tornado, like, you know, that was Kasora's whole thing.
Yeah, Kasora said it was a long-term thing.
And then it's like, well, you had one stage, Speedily Tracer didn't work. Goodbye,
yeah,
Sam.
and the format, like the format of the league itself, does not bode well for teams like Defiant that maybe have a rocky start, right? Like it's like this is your time, like in terms of dropping, right? It's like this is the only chance you have to do it, right? Otherwise, you're taking a gamble on a meta that isn't changing, that your team will just magically be better, right? So I don't know. In terms of like meta is whatever, because like you could have meta was whatever. Meta's gonna be the meta no matter what. This team had to just be flexible with the players that they had. If we look towards Kasoris, right, and the whole coaching staff, it must have been going well in scrims for them to be like jamming their head again, like ramming their head into the wall with what we saw as an underperforming starting roster on match days, right? It had to have been going well in scrims. I can't imagine Kasoris, who's regarded pretty well as a coach, was like, yeah, we're losing all our scrim blocks and this is good. I think this is the most competent thing going into match day. No, there's no way. So I don't know. I don't know who there is to blame, other than I guess like the whole roster,
the whole team
had too high of expectations maybe for themselves and were expecting to perform very well out the gate, and that didn't happen, and that led to, because I mean the AT roster, they've always been a high ego roster, right? Like they play with confidence. You see them talking on Twitter, you see the way they talk on streams and in interviews. It's like they're there, like they have high confidence, and if that confidence like drops, I could see that play dropping with that.
For sure. No, 100%. So we're both in agreement that like for this season, you had to drop these players basically if you wanted to rebound, because like with how they crash and burn, it wasn't like, you know, a bad meta exactly like we just discussed. So if you wanted to actually have a chance this season, you kind of had to drop these players. But did you have to drop all of them? Could we have kept Sam? Could we have kept... No, there's no one else. It's just literally, could we have kept Sam? And if we did, would it have been beneficial? Because I think, right, I don't know if it would have been better, but I think it would have been interesting to see Sam play Echo and Spectra play the Tracer in this specific stage now that we know the meta. And they couldn't know the meta when they dropped him, obviously.
Yeah.
But the fact that there is a meta immediately, that maybe it would have been better to keep him around for those kind of maps. Maybe, you know, you can question if they should have kept him or not.
I think think what we definitely like have seen is that, or my theory anyways, because I was gonna be like, yeah, we should should have kept Sam, because I don't think he was the problem necessarily. I think he played well when he came in, right? I don't think he was necessarily deserving of that, but in terms of the team direction, I think there's a lot to be said about just having 2 damage players. Like when you were fumbling rotations, that whole felt like you were fumbling damage line rotations that whole time. Just simplifying it down to 2 guys. Those are your starters. They're in no matter what. You don't have to worry about this. Oh, like maybe Sam plays the Echo or Speedily's still here and he plays the Echo and Spectra plays the Tracer. Like no, you don't have to overcomplicate it. It's like Hydron and Sam or Hydron and Spectra are in, and there's your damage line.
Deal with it,
right?
Yeah.
In terms of vibes, though, we've been hearing that Spectra has been like really good in terms of integrating into the team and like being a great positive light on the team, but I like Sam could have also been really good, like a great third wheel damage player, right? Like we've like seen him, or like it seemed like he was in the last stage, right? And bring the vibes up. I don't know. I think overall it's probably as sad as it makes me that to see these players that I like Sam, OG, Speedily, I like these players, but I think this is probably for the franchise a better direction on the first look anyways.
Yeah. And I guess the other thing with Sam is if the like culture of the team was a large reason for them failing, it would make sense to not keep Sam around just in case, right? Because he's probably a large part of that culture. We see him yapping. We see him being an American Tornado personality, right? Yep. So I guess keeping him could have just kept it all the same. You know what I mean? Because right now it's what, 6-2 for AT. I mean, Magent's not even AT, right? So it's 3-3. So basically only half, and then Sam would have tipped it over the edge to be more AT. So I guess I don't know. It's sad, but
yeah, I think that's probably part of the reason Kasaurus cut 3 is because they want it's like you make it feel less like AT and then more like a new team where these guys have to prove themselves, because maybe it's like, oh, we don't have to prove ourselves on this roster or to any of the other players on this team because they're
not going to flame. Well, I don't want to say they're not going to flame each other, because they probably would, but it's like, it's a different kind of pressure.
Yeah, now you have the pressure of there's these new guys, these new rookies that are hungry, or I would still say Opener's kind of
Opener played a whole last season.
He did play a whole season.
But yeah, I know.
At least Spectra is very hungry by the looks of it, right?
Oh, for sure.
So you've got players like that, and like I'm sure Majed's still hungry. I'm sure the whole team's now they're all hungry, but they didn't have the success in the past together. It's now like, oh, we're hungry together, versus in the past AT has had success. I don't know.
They were
I'm not a sports psychologist. I'm not a sports psychologist, so I don't know.
They were going to the buffet together.
Yes.
Okay. We could read it. Okay. So then looking at the actual pickups, moving away from the disaster that was that first half. Is Spectra an Opener? Like, what are our expectations for them? Because we just saw Spectra be crazy. We just saw him have a great week initially on the Echo, on the Tracer, on the May. Best May of the game, question mark, no bias. Like, how much do we think individually they are going to, I don't know, bring the team success, I guess is the question.
Well, we saw that Spectra was very good in APAC last stage when he was competing for Dreamers, right?
Yep. And
very strong. And before that, people were wondering why that guy wasn't picked up already to a team moving into this year. So now that he's actually properly on a franchise team, we already saw a really good opening weekend from him. Very flexible, very potent, always providing impact somewhere. I think so far Spectra's looked like the right call, even vibes wise. The boys look like the AT boys look like they love the kid, right? Like, I mean, we saw the pop-offs on the cam, on broadcast, where they all ran and hugged him, right? They're like, oh my god, you're like the GOAT. And then same with Opener, they're like, they're like really integrating these players, which looks that's awesome. It's good to know that they didn't just come in, the best friends got kicked out. These random people from across the world just came in, and it's like, oh, we're just we're just getting some Korean imports to make the team better. It's like, no, they actually really care and they're meshing. So that's really good. And then with Opener, I guess, do you have anything to say about Opener? I think he was very noticeably not like
bad.
he wasn't bad. He didn't like amaze me this weekend, but I wasn't watching his play and being like, oh my god, we just lost the fight because like Opener just like bashed in for no reason or whatever.
He was very noticeably present in the game mentally and physically.
Yeah.
Which is more than we could say, perhaps, for
OG's performance in the first half.
And to be fair to OG, he actually played well this weekend on New York.
Yeah.
So it definitely but yeah. I don't know. Opener, I mean, you're the support guy, but from what I see, Opener is like, he's gonna be solid. He's not gonna go crazy. He's gonna look to make the right plays at the right time, and hopefully he does.
I think that's exactly what this team needs is that guy that's just gonna that kid that's just gonna do the right thing at the right time, and he's not gonna do the wrong thing at the wrong time. Yeah. Right. So that's what you need. You already have such a playmaking support in UV.
Yeah.
You just need someone who's gonna be there, who's gonna throw packs at him when he gets primal against the wall or gets hacked. Someone's gonna pop rally and stun the Sombra or Tracer. Like, that's the guy you need, and Opener looks to be providing that. So yeah, I don't know. I'm happy with that.
And UV played well with OG. Like, playing well whenever your main support is struggling as a flex support is like tough. Like it's I don't know. It just blows my mind that UV was that good already. And Spectra, I just think he's in the rookie of the year conversation, even with missing a lot of the beginning of the season, because he got those games in Dreamers. I personally count those games towards his rookie of the year campaign because they were owl matches. And this kid looks insane. He's electric. I'm trying to think of a pun with spectronomical. You know what I mean? Like the spectrophy scale. You know what I'm talking about? Like the light scale. Spectrometer. Okay, okay, my bad.
The spectrometer.
Spectrometer.
There's
something more. I don't know. We'll figure it out.
I'm unaware.
Johnny, get on that. Johnny Production, get on that. Okay. So then I guess I want to talk about now, who is the weakest link on this team now? Because we just got rid of the weak links. So who is it now that is struggling to keep this chain link fence afloat in the water?
I think, looking at the roster now, I think the make or break player for me, I wouldn't say there's no clear weak link on this team anymore to me, but I think the most make or break player on the team is Kaluj, actually.
Has to be. I think it has to be.
There's a lot of pressure on him to maintain a good Winston, right? We need that white boy Winston, right? And Kaluj has showed, like this last weekend, it looked like he was back to how he was last year on the Winston, like doing the right thing on Winston, doing it when he needs to do it, and even clutching at times, right? And that's, if Kaluj can continue to perform like this and get better even, then I think that's really good. But if, say, he starts to perform kind of like there was in the first half, right? Where there was a lot of mistimed jumps, or at least it looked like it, right? It looked like there were some mistimed jumps or
some odd bubbles.
Odd bubble placement or whatever. Like then that's going to be a problem. But I think now that there's the team seems to be working better around him, like his front line and back line seem to just be like in a better spot now. I think it's on him to make sure he doesn't get diffed, right? Because there are some really good Winstons in NA, right? There's Fearless Donghack, someone to name a few, Smurf, right? You've got really good Winstons to play against. And we'll see if Kaluj ends up being the difference maker, right? Like, can he compete? Can he put up enough of a performance on a character that he's not historically known to play and get this team across the finish line? I think that's who I have my eye on, really.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of been the same the whole season, I guess. It's like, whenever you're if you're an off tank player as a solo tank, it's like you have to be the question mark, because I don't know if I'd say there's been like almost no off tanks that have actually been like confident on the Winston. Like Dante was maybe your best shout and he got fired, right? So it's
got
like
fired, yeah.
And like Punk got completely caved in by someone this weekend. So like, because we haven't actually played any good Winston. We played Punk, we played Cry, right? Those aren't exactly the best Winstons out there.
Yeah, it's not that hard to put up a better performance than them, and I think Kaluge is probably of the white boy Winstons left in the league. Kaluge is like the last one that's
the last bastion.
Yeah.
Holding up the white man. Okay. Write that one down. So, okay. Let's talk about our schedule now. What do we have? So we just played Vancouver. We just played Valiant. We just beat both of them. Right? Bro's shaking his head at Evan.
Yeah. Yeah.
The schedule, only this half matters. The previous half are, what was it, 3 and 5? We went 3 and 5, right? Last half. Doesn't matter anymore. Fresh start. We have 2 wins under our belt. I'd say 4 and 4 is good enough to get into play-ins. I can't, because it's every team except for the bottom 3 and the top 2. So 4 and 4 should be good. You can probably even get in at 3 and 5. Shock did, right? Last stage. We did last stage. So 3 and 5 is all we need. Next week, we play Boston and Atlanta. That's kind of tough. Atlanta's a loss. Boston, beatable? Question mark.
Is Atlanta a loss?
Yes. Atlanta is like, you don't have to watch. You don't have to watch.
It's a loss. I don't want to watch that. That's my favorite. I don't want to see that, man. I mean, the boys just got their mojo back, and they're just gonna have a giant freight train just run through them.
Oh no!
5 different freight trains.
Maybe
from
4,
5 different angles.
Maybe 4.5.
No.
4.5 freight trains.
No, they're all really good on Atlanta. You know this.
I don't want to discuss that at length.
Okay, so your question.
Is Boston beatable?
Is Boston beatable?
I think so.
They just lost a map, almost lost 2 to the Vegas Eternal.
Almost lost 3.
Has 3 players on Gigaping.
Knife had a great game, to be fair. But Spectre
Knife had a great game,
I guess.
But Knife had a great game on that ping. You're telling me Decay?
True.
Okay.
Oh,
there's no excuses.
Okay.
They're against Decay. They're against Decay. So if Decay is this like monster tracer player, bro, this guy, yeah, he was good, but like there should be no question if like Knife shouldn't be diffing him. There should be it shouldn't be a conversation. The guy's on like 200 ping, and you're losing almost. That's not good. This team has so many championships under their belt. That team has Rack Attack. Like, come on.
Rack Attack the GOAT. Hello, where are you at?
Oh my god.
Who do you want on Brig? Rack Attack. Reddit Brig.
No, I could list 19 Brigidas in this league that I'd rather have.
That's so cap.
But I think Boston is beatable. Is that because I have a history of thinking Boston are frauds? Yes. Maybe that might contribute to it. And that I like to over assume the achievements and the possibilities of the Defiant roster. Yeah. But I think they're beatable. If Vegas almost won the series, I think it's possible.
I mean, Boston also had another series last week. It was Houston, and they won 3-1.
Yeah.
And it was a very good showing. So I don't know.
So either
good or bad.
Either Boston and Houston have fallen down.
Yeah.
Or Vegas are really good.
Vegas must be good, guys. I don't know. I think I will probably pred Toronto in that game just because like I see the vision. It's there.
Yeah, I'll be pred Toronto.
Yeah. Okay, so then we have us going 2-2 at worst. Well, I mean, that after 2 weeks makes sense because we just won 2, or 3-2, or 3-1 potentially. Then we get a bye week in season 3, week 3, into playing Houston and Washington. Houston in 3 weeks from now, where they are presumably back to being the second best team in the league. I would hope.
Yeah,
it's tough.
I mean, my theory with Houston's underperformance, just a TLDR. I just think that they just probably maybe took it a bit too easy in that break. Perhaps maybe, or they took their foot off the gas a little, or weren't. They're looking to like save energy going into the back half of the season. I really doubt looking at that roster and the coaching staff. I just don't. And the consistency they showed up all year, and it's the same meta, basically the same meta anyway. It's
meta for them, and even
potentially better meta. As soon as they get Pelly like practiced on Echo, I think this team is scary again, and that should just honestly next week I'm expecting them to bounce back. I'm not on a doom train for Houston just yet. Okay. So I think
that's probably
Houston's going to be a really tough match unless, like I said, they actually are on some sort of doom train and they've just lost their mojo. But I think it could be competitive depending on how well of a performance the Defiant players put up. We have really good shooters. Like Hydron and Spectra are both very good and could potentially, match up with, your Happy and Pelican on like a average day.
Yeah. Reasonable.
So that could be at least a competitive series where we maybe take a map, right? Against Washington, I wasn't as pleased with Washington's performance this week.
I agree.
I think it was still really questionable. They're dropping of FD God for a main support that's gonna have to play on ping and integrate into the system. It doesn't really make. It's like a lateral move where you're increasing their ping. I don't really understand it yet. Maybe long term it'll work out better for them. Yeah, but I think Washington probably has some holes that we can exploit. That's my take. I think Washington's very winnable.
I'd say I can't say we're favored. We're not really favored to beat Washington or Boston. Like realistically, we are favored to lose all of these matches except for the second Vancouver appearance in week 5. Because we play Vancouver week 5, Washington again week 6, by the way. There are duplicates there. And there's some more that already happened. But we already played Boston. We already played Valiant. Those are our duplicates. But
let's hope that we are good against matchup well into Washington because we play them again. Exactly. Vancouver looks like that series could have gone to Vancouver. Like could have gone Vancouver's way. So that's going to be another banger probably. But there's also a patch change there.
Yes, there's a 2-week patch change
before the second Vancouver and Washington, which will have a new support hero and
the new Flashpoint.
Yeah, new Flashpoint and all these other different balance changes that could be significant.
Yeah,
we don't know. So
maybe
it's up in the air. I think there's a really good chance though that we're making it into plans though, for sure.
I think we just need to be better than Washington. That's what the goal is right now. It's very doable in this meta. It's super doable. In the next one, who knows what it is, still very doable, right? That team is Alpha Yi and then Flora if he's gambling correctly. That's it. Yeah. That's the entire roster. So I'd like to say that we make it in and getting the win over Vancouver. If we lost this opening day to Vancouver, it would have been disastrous. It would have been like, because this is a fucking tough schedule. Boston, Atlanta, Houston. Yeah. Holy shit.
I said it when we were watching the matches, but it's like winning this Vancouver game, especially a close game, like it's a really good morale win.
Yes.
Right? It was a competitive, because it wasn't like a close win of like two teams that were just like, it wasn't a toilet bowl, right? It was a competitive series with ups and downs. And like, that's a really good morale boost for the Defiant, right?
Yeah.
So that was, I think that match was maybe the most important match to win this entire stage.
So that's strong.
Yeah, because it puts them off in a good place. And then a very commanding win against the Valiant, who just beat Glads.
Yeah, they were feeling high. Yeah, Valiant got that same type of win. Perhaps even more so.
Valiant got a crazy confidence boost off the Glads. They reverse swept the Glads.
Yeah.
So,
and then we just stomped on their dreams.
Yeah.
And while we're talking about Vancouver, I mentioned this whenever we played. Vancouver and Toronto are like perfectly mirrored teams now. I just thought I like bringing this up because it's like you have Heesang, Spectra, right? Your Tracer player, and not your Echo player, I guess. But yeah, and then you have Lenny Hydron, then you have your White Boy Winstons, and then you have your Korean main support and your Flex support, your NA Flex support.
NA Flex support.
Yeah. And we're the better ones, so let's go.
For now, yeah.
Okay. So I guess to end, anything that we should talk about to end? I don't know.
I think for Defiant fans out there, hopium. We have
Stay
some.
hopeful.
We've been freshly restocked after a disappointing start to the season, and I think we can stay hopeful. And we need to remind ourselves, it's okay if we don't beat Atlanta or Houston or Boston.
Not
because
Washington,
there are other.
though. We need that
But Washington.
one. Need that one.
Yeah, Washington DC is we must strike. The Canadians must strike Washington. We must burn down the Capitol once again.
But the White House will be even more white this time.
Yes. Okay. That's all I have to say, though. I think hopium going into the rest of the back half.
I believe. You believe. We believe. Why do we believe? Why do we do this? Okay.
Because we live geographically close to a franchise. That's why we believe.
That's okay. Goodbye. Have a good one. Subscribe, like, comment. Let us know down below. Why do you have hope? Why do you not have hope? Goodbye.